Hello, welcome to the Fibroid Shrinking Kitchen. This is Josephine. Today we are going to make collard greens with roasted butternut squash with some portobello mushrooms. So for this recipe, we are going to need you can use a whole butternut squash, which I've already peeled, and then we're going to chop that together, and then a batch of collard greens washed already. So this is about 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 leaves washed already with stem. Then I have fresh cilantro. Then I have about 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a portobello mushrooms. It's about 8 ounces of portobello mushrooms. So we're going to wash that and cut that as well. Then for the cooking oil is avocado oil. And then we have Celtic salt. We have some turmeric and ground pepper and some smoked paprika. Okay, so first thing first is we're going to heat up the oven 395 Fahrenheit. And then we're going to chop the butternut squash. So while that is going to be baking in the oven for about 35 to 40 minutes on 395 Fahrenheit, we're going to make the mushrooms and the collard greens. So prepare your, turn on the oven, and then we are going to start chopping this together. So don't be intimidated with the butternut squash. It comes whole. Just get a good small, medium size or small size. It's perfect to work with. And just use a peeler. Take the skin, hard skin off. And then just, cut the top and the bottom part, which I already did that. And I also have a video why I'm doing that together with you. And then just cut that in the middle. It can be a bit intimidating at first. Oh, now that ran away. Okay, and then you just cut that in the middle. See that color rich in carotenoid, really good for the skin, for the eyes. It's really good for you. Okay, so we have the seeds that we're going to scoop out. I even have a recipe of savory squash, which I've done acorn squash with butternut squash. Check that out. And this is just going to be another just separate butternut squash. It's so versatile because it's a great substitute for white regular potatoes. You can use it, you can have it as a breakfast mash, like a potato mash, or you can have it as a soup. You can have it as fries. You can work with it in so many different ways. So now what I'm just going to do is we're just going to quarter this. We're going to cut this into thin slices, and then we're just going to cut some cubes out of this. So it's sweet too as well. It's very delicious. You can play around with it with different ways. You can play around with butternut squash. It's a joy to work with, especially when you're cooking in the kitchen, because you can cut thin slices like this and make it into fries, like this, and bake that in the oven and make it like, thin fries. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to bake it in the oven. And then we're going to serve that with the collard greens and mushroom. It's so good. I think you're gonna like this a lot. And just make that and use it differently. Okay, so I'm gonna use half of this. I'll save that for something different. I can make soup out of that as well. So I have that. I put that in a bowl. And I'm going to take turmeric. Turmeric and butternut squash love each other. It's a great combo. And then I'm going to take the avocado oil and some just to coat that, and some salt. Then I'm just going to mix that up. I'm gonna use my hands. Turmeric is it can really sometimes mess you up, you know, it sticks. So be careful when you're working with turmeric on surfaces that you don't want to stain, wearing white clothes around or any white napkin. So be very careful with turmeric. So usually I like to massage my food using my hands, but I'm just gonna use the spoon to just get that in there. You see that color? That's a rich antioxidant, anti-inflammatory color. Okay, so you have this, the oven is ready, and we're just going to put this in a baking tray and bake for about 25 to 30 minutes on 395. So I have my glass baking tray there. And if you make the whole butternut squash, just make sure that everything fits nicely. You don't want to, like, if you want it to come out really nice and everything cooks all the way through, just make sure that everything just lies flat on there and you're not piling it up if you're using a whole butternut squash. But I'm using half, so it just depends on your portion size, but you can use a whole if you like. Just make sure that it's not piling and it's nicely, everything is spread out nicely. So this is ready. We're just going to put this in the oven for about 35 minutes for 395, and then we are going to start working on the mushrooms and the collard greens as well while this is getting ready. Now we put the butternut squash in the oven, so now we're going to work on the mushrooms. I have washed the mushrooms already nicely in there. So sometimes you can peel it off, it depends. Honestly, sometimes I cook it as it is. I just make sure that I wash it clean. If it's too slimy, I usually take that off, but you know, for the most part I just cook it with the skin. So I'm just gonna we're just gonna slice this up, and then we're gonna get it start cooking. So we just slice this, the slices. So while the butternut is in the oven, we are making this ready. So you're looking about 35 minutes of butternut in the oven, and this should be about like 10 minutes tops, and it's ready. Okay, so I'm just gonna put this in a bowl. It's the same bowl that I had for the butternut squash, so it still has that turmeric. That's fine. Okay, so you've cut that into this kind of slices, and then so next we're going to chop up the collard greens, which are already washed. So you just take the collard greens, you can destem it, such, or you can always pile it up together like this and start chopping it. So you can do that if you don't mind the stems, you know. So I can just take that part out and discard, and then I can just thinly careful with a knife. Collard greens are really great. They're full of vitamins that will cleanse the blood. So you want to introduce as much variety of vegetables, you know. A lot of people tend to use spinach. Actually, spinach is estrogenic, so it has the natural occurring estrogen, phytoestrogen. So just be aware of that. I would recommend that you eliminate spinach, and if you have to use it, really sparingly, and just use watercress, collard greens, Swiss chard, lacinato kale, the other kale, romaine lettuce, and broccoli. Just use other kinds of green and not just that spinach. I see spinach in everything. Spinach is in everything. There's so many different kind of variety of vegetables that are really, really anti-inflammatory and full of oxidants that are really good and powerful for detoxing, that I don't see so much being used in cooking as spinach is used. So just know that use in the Fibroid Shrinking Kitchen Club, you get all this variety of vegetables that you probably didn't try. I know collard greens is popular, but sometimes the way it's made is different. So I'm just gonna put this here. It's all gonna go in together. So you see everything is chopped up nicely. And then we're going to just start making this. Okay, so we're going to start making the mushrooms, and they will cook for about, so that's already hot. So we've added some of the avocado oil, and we're just gonna put this in here. So the first thing, mushrooms, if you haven't cooked mushrooms, they will shrink. So we're just going to cook this. So we just let it cook for about 5 minutes, then we're going to turn it. So it's been about 5 minutes, so we just turn it and just let it like cook down a little bit. And you'll see that the water, it will just start getting the water out from the mushrooms. So the water will start squeezing out. So this is on medium right now. So we give it another about 5 more minutes. About 3 to 4 minutes. So it's been about 6 minutes that we just let it cook down. And now we're going to add the black pepper. So it just cooked with its water, starting to now mushrooms are very delicious. Now if you want that meaty taste, then we're gonna add some salt. So you see they are cooking down nicely. And they're starting to, like, kind of sauteing now with the oil. And it has shrunk down too as well. So in total we're looking about 10 minutes. When it starts to be brown, so this is ready. It's cooked down. What you're going to do is you're going to add that cilantro, the fresh cilantro that we chopped up. Okay, and it's good. So we're gonna take that out of the heat, and that same pot that we're using, we're going to use make the collard greens in there. So I put that mushroom on the side, and then I've turned off the heat. And the same pot that I used for the mushrooms, I just turned off the heat completely because I do not want to overcook the collard greens. And what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna add that collard greens, the same pot. It's so hot, the heat is turned off. Then we're gonna add some salt and just some black pepper. And you just turn that. You need to add a little bit of oil. It's gonna cook down pretty fast, even with that heat that we had before. So it's starting to cook down. So that same pot is what we use. And you just let it sit there while the butternut squash is almost done. So you just let it in that hot. You've turned off the heat. You're not overcooking anything. Look, it's green. It's so green. You just put some pepper. If you want it spicy, you can put like some chili powder. Just make sure you're picking the right kind of spices. It's a very simple way of making collard greens without overcooking it. You're still retaining the nutrients because it's green. Just lightly saute it with the heat from the previous pan. Okay, so this is done. The mushroom is done. So we're just going to plate this and then we're ready to serve. Now it's been about 35 minutes. I've taken out the sweet potatoes. The butternut squash from the oven, and they're ready. I've checked them that they're tender, and now we're ready to serve. So let's do this. Let's serve this up. Good. So you have your mushrooms. Look at the mushrooms. So they have all the way down. Okay, so you have that. So if you make this for the week, that was 8 ounces of portobello. You can still eat twice. And then you have your greens there. Okay, look at that. See the color? And now you have your, now you're ready for the butternut squash right there. And I do have some recipe for the dressing, lime dressing. I have a few dressings that you can make and use that on here, especially on the butternut squash. It's so delicious. See this color? It's like fries in a healthy way, in a healthy cup. So that's it. So there you have it. You have your roasted butternut squash. We have some mushrooms there, and we have collard greens. You can use some the dressing that I have, or just eat it as it is, or make one of the dressings, which are very easy to make. You can have avocado on the side. I always like to include avocado because it's such a healthy fat. It will keep you full and it's really good for detoxing. So this is something so delicious. I don't know about you, but this is ready to be devoured, and I hope that you will give the recipe a chance. Let me know how you like it. This is the electric lifestyle of vegan that you will be enjoying for the rest of your life. This is what we do in the Fibroid Shrinking Kitchen Club. We make it delicious, we make it healthy, we make it colorful and fun and just yummy, yummy, yummy. All right, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next cooking tutorial.